Everyone. Welcome to Credit and Real Estate Today. Our two speakers today are Mrs. Abigail Bridgeford and Mr. Kevin Lewis. Mrs. Abigail Bridgeford, she's the broker of Junior Parks of Real Estate, and Mr. Kevin, welcome to Credit and CEO of Bayesian Credit Council. And Mrs. Bridgeford, she will discuss how to make an offer. And Mr. Kevin Lewis will discuss inquiries. So without further ado, please.
Welcome. Nice to have you with us. Nice to see some familiar faces.
Yeah, back again.
Back again, right? Good. This time we're gonna get double the trouble. We got a little very good time. Right? So as we prepare to read up our slides today, what I want to discuss is something that I believe that's very important because our theme today is questions. So I want to ask a question of the audience, if I can. Would someone like to share an instance or an example or a time when you purchased something and you felt you paid too much?
Oh.
Someone want to share that with the audience? You bought something and you paid too much. Yes, young lady here.
I asked for a McDonald's meal and I said, can I have a small fry? And then I really realized that it was cheaper to get a medium fry and the waitress didn't tell me and I feel scammed.
Oh, scams. Okay, hold on to that word, scam. So even in the fast food industry, you could feel a little ripped off. Anyone else have a situation where they felt like they paid too much? I just want to get an idea as to what it feels like to pay too much. You want to share?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
paying too much right now.
You paid too much, okay?
My partner and I bought a piece of land, and we financed the piece of land. We financed it with a lender who was charging us exorbitant amount of interest.
Oh, absorbent.
Exorbitant.
Okay, so we got scam, absorbent. Doesn't feel too good, does it? No. So the reason I'm asking these questions is because under the subject where we talk about making an offer, we don't want people to feel scammed, nor do we want people to pay an exorbitant amount of money for a property. So in real estate, there's some formulations that we want to discuss. And it's very important that if you can take some notes, fine. If not, I'm hoping that we have our slide presentation where you're welcome to take pictures and so that you can have this information. Because in this market today, real estate is becoming very, very difficult. It's very difficult to find affordable housing, but it's even more difficult for people to find a property that their offer will actually be accepted. True story, because I am a storyteller. True story. There's a property just recently that one of my agents in my office put an offer in on. Property was listed at say mid-200s. Well, she put in an offer up to about 275, 280, around that room. So guess what? She got beat out by an offer $400,000.
What?
Yes, you heard me. $400,000. So in today's market, you might ask, well, what was it that made them accept an offer? Why would someone want to offer $400,000 when they're only asking for $200,000? So that's the type of thing we're going to discuss today. Let me see if I got my remote, which I will have here. So we're going to understand the agreement of sale. So in our first slide, we're going to talk about, first of all, you've heard the term agreement of sale. But one of our earlier segments that we had with Credit and Real Estate Today, we discussed some terminology. So some of these things might be familiar to some of you. We discussed offer, bid. Now, offer and bid, we also said that that is equivalent to an agreement of sale. You're making an offer. You're telling the seller what it is that you're desirous of doing. Okay, so this might sound elementary, but this is very important because we're getting ready to delve in a lot more deeper than just the offer. Okay, These are terms acceptable, rejected, and countered. I need you to really think about that because when you make an offer or a bid on a property, you must remember the seller has options. Those are their three options. They either are going to accept your offer with all the terms that you already have written. They're either going to say reject it, say, no, that's okay, thanks, but no thanks, I'm not interested in that offer, no, thank you. Or you're going to counter. Counter means, I like this part of your offer, but how about we change this part of your offer? So these are terms that we're going to really think about as we move on into our set. So our next slide is going to tell us one of the first determining factors. Please, this is so important. This is why you need to hire a real estate professional. My preference, a realtor. As we discussed in one of our earlier segments, a realtor is not the same as a real estate agent. Realtor is more. All right, so let's say we say understanding the market. In that same illustration that we just discussed, how will you as a seller feel if you were the one that got the $400,000 when you were only asking for $200,000?
As a seller,
As a seller.
I'm celebrating.
Yes, celebrating.
Celebrating.
Right? I like that term.
Celebrating.
I'm gonna hashtag celebrate.
Celebrating.
Gotcha, I like it. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna think like a seller. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, let's think like a buyer. All right, you want to understand the market conditions because if you are a seller, you are not going to think like a buyer. You are a buyer, but you're not going to think like a seller. So we have this house here. This is for illustrative purposes. This is our house. How do you know? Get a little pad, grass. So understand the market. This house here, one of a kind. There's no other properties like this house. Why? The neighborhood, no one moves out of this neighborhood. This neighborhood, the people like each other. They're respectable. Transportation is close by. They keep the areas clean. There's pride of ownership in this neighborhood. Uh-oh. Seller can't live in this house anymore. That was Seller says, $300,000. So understand this market condition based on what I told you about this house. Does $300,000 seem fair? Look at the word fair. No one moves from this neighborhood. Everyone likes the area. House has central air, 4 bedrooms. It's just finished basement, 1.5 baths. Understanding the market as a seller will require that you as a seller put your property, welcome, hi, put your property on the market for fair market value. How do we determine fair market value? All right. There's a house here. There's a house here. This house sold for $300. We make it the same as this. This one sold for $275. Would you say then at this point, the seller put the house on the market, that $300,000 is fair? Yes or no? How many say yes? How many say no? All of you that say yes, you're right. So researching the market as a seller, know that other homes within, now let's mention, we gotta get this, we have to get this. Because I hear too many sellers say, I'll put my house on the market, they pick a number out of the sky. Let me please reassure you something. The house has to be within 1 mile. The house has to have sold within 6 months. And the house has to be comparable, meaning same bedrooms, same bathrooms, same square footage. Is that fair? A lot can happen in 6 months. So if this house sold for 300 last month, this house sold for 275 the month before, they were all within the same area. We can actually say possibly that this is a fair price. But if this property is 4 bedrooms and this one is 3 and this one is 2, let me ask you something. Is this still fair price? Yeah. Still fair. Is it still a fair price? It's still, yes.
Is that based on square footage? Because each of those 3 houses could have similar square footage.
Yeah.
And be in that same lot, but definitely not have the same dock.
True, that's true. 'Cause the amenities makes a difference. But fair, getting back to that, is someone not feeling scammed, right? And someone that feels that they're not being erroneously taken advantage of. So if I bought this house with 300,000, I wouldn't feel scammed, would you? No, I'm getting more for my money. I got a bigger house, got more bedrooms, I'm getting more, I got a deal. That's the point we're trying to make. Sometimes you can get a good deal, but it still means it's fair. Okay? Going to our next slide, what I want you to realize something is fair market value, market, thinking like a seller or buyer is so important. But you have to determine the price. You have to determine the price. Now, let's take this example. How many of us been to the gas station? And the gas station, we see this. How many of you look at that and determine how much of it, which gas you gonna put in your car based on what you see? Now,
I
Have you
have in
been,
the past.
have you been to the gas station where you say, I'm gonna get day plus because that price is so low, I'm gonna get plus today. Have you done that?
Yes.
Or you go to the gas station, you say, oh, no, I'll put regular, please. Put the regular, please, because that plus price is ridiculous. Do you know the thing with the house? Let's go back to our illustration. Let's think like a buyer, please, like a buyer. If you are a buyer and you saw that this house, let's build our own house. Give me some amenities that you'd like to see in your house.
3.5 baths,
3.5 baths?
Yep.
Whoop. Hey,
3 bedrooms.
3.5 baths. Well, it's gonna be 3.5 baths. You said 3 bedrooms? That's
5.
5. Yeah.
In-ground pool.
Oh. 5 bedrooms. I hear it. In-ground pool.
Say it again.
Finished basement.
Finished basement. Okay, finished basement.
I need a garage,
Okay. You said garage?
at least one.
Okay, a garage. Some kind of parking.
No,
Definitely.
Garage. All right, this house has all of these things. Let's think like a buyer. Looking at these prices, determine, first of all, we said the condition. This house is in what kind of condition? Mint condition. We talk about location. You said this house is where? It's somewhere people don't even move from. They love it, right? We talked about the seller's motivation. This poor seller, he can't live in this 5-bedroom house anymore. He's by himself. He needs something small. All right. So he's asking $300,000. Think like a buyer. How much would you want? Any takers? How much would you offer? Let me go around the room and see if anybody would let me tell me.
As a buyer.
As a buyer, 275. All right, so we got one buyer that says she's gonna offer 275. All right, how about you, sir?
$275 and $1.
You're gonna offer 275? Okay, so you're
No.
gonna offer 270?
No, I'm going 280.
You're gonna go 280.
I'll go 282.
You're gonna go 280 also, or 282? 282? All right. Just say three, okay, I'll take one more. What would you want to offer? You're gonna offer them 300,000.
Same. If it's a fair price, then offer the price, right?
Okay, I just heard the word. Think like a seller. Okay, everybody, let's put our seller hats on. You're coming on this side. Mr. Seller, hi, how are you, sir, today? I have 4 bona fide offers on your property. Mr. Seller, I'm gonna present them all to you. No specific order, just gonna give you. Look, Abby, just give you the. Okay, Mr. Seller. We have 275. We have 280, 282, and 300. As a seller, what would you say? Which one would you take? Yeah.
Who's the cash?
I was about to say, my
Who's the
cash.
cash buyer?
I'm so interested. You want to know who's the cash buyer? Okay, I have a secret for all of you. All listening. Listen, look here. What else do you find? It's all cash. You have a conventional mortgage, you have an FHA mortgage, you have a VA mortgage, you have cash. It's all cash. At the end of the day, guess what? The bank is gonna give you what? So that's why this class is so important, because if you start thinking like the other party, then you start to realize, I'm no wonder any of my offers are not being accepted. Because if you had an offer 275, 280, or 282, Mr. Seller will be offended. Because what are you getting? You're getting 3.5 baths, 5 bedrooms, finished basement, garage, and a desirable neighborhood, and there's no other houses over here to sell. Why do that to the seller? Why offend the seller? And right,
That's the truth.
that is true.
You wouldn't-
Now, what did we say from our previous slide? It's the market conditions. Any questions, comments? I'll take us, yes.
But we don't know, I don't know when I offer 280 that there's a 275 and a 300 and a 282. But what you're saying is both, my question is, are you saying that both the seller and the buyer need to know the market conditions and the comps?
Both. Both, because that's why a real estate agent is important. Your agent is going to go with you as a buyer. The agent is going to sit down and show you, and tell you, this is what's going on in this neighborhood. This is what's going on in this area. So if you want this house, I am going to suggest to you, give a man not just 300, let's give him 310.
Never mind.
So now I'm gonna shut out who? Remember, please remember this. You're not alone in this one. There's someone else looking at this house too. There's other real estate agents who are trying to make a sale too. There's other families that need housing. Okay? What we do as real estate professionals, we have to educate the buyer and the seller, which is one of our previous segments about buyer agency. Buyer agency is represent you. So as a buyer agent, the agent is going to educate you and tell you what's going on in this area. When you put your house on the market, which was an excellent question, Kevin, the seller is going to already be educated because they need to find out what price to start. So now you got two sides. You got the seller and the buyer side trying to find a median. And that's what you're trying to do. So you need to know the market. You have to determine your price. And once you come up with your price, Then we go to our next slide. And we're going to decide now, what is it we're gonna do to get that property? Let me ask you. Which of these two would you rather have? Earnest money. Let's talk about earnest money. I'm sorry, hitting my phone, I apologize. I realized that this thing is that sensitive, I apologize. Earnest money deposit demonstrates your commitment to the seller. So, based on our illustration that we just went over, the person who said 300, the young lady there in the back, you got the house. Congratulations, your offer, I'm going to accept your offer because you gave me what I want. And I believe that what I offered you and what you're agreeing to is fair. So, when you put your offer together, I want you to understand earnest money. Don't say to the seller, I'm gonna give you $500 to take your house off. Would you? Would you take your house off the market for $500? How about you? 1,000?
5,000.
$1,000. Okay, let's really get down. We want to talk about this a little bit. Let's get rid of, so now we got our house is sold. Okay? For these other buyers here, we're gonna let them go. They lost out. Now, I'm gonna back up for a second though, too. Let me back up, welcome. Let me back up for a second, just for a second. For those of you who said 275, 280, how would you have felt losing the house because of 25,000? Or because of 20,000? Because of 5,000? I'm asking because when you put your offers in, you better make sure you put your offer in at a price that if you do not get it, that you're okay for. Okay, so you have to make certain. So for instance, if you say, well, I like the house, but I don't like it that much, I'll give it to 85, and then you didn't get it. Okay, that's 15,000. I lost it by 15,000. Okay, but if you really needed that house, you needed that school district, you needed those amenities, you didn't, it's hard to find a 5-bedroom house in this neighborhood. How would you have felt if you didn't just go ahead and offer to sell what you want? So I just want you to understand why this is such a, not a game, but it's an exercise. You have to really think of outside the box. Think like the other part. All right, so earnest money. All right, young lady, you got this house, you got it. All right, the seller's looking at your offer and you offered $5,000 earnest money. Earnest money, anyone know? Anyone want to tell me what's earnest money? What is it? You said bribe. Well, for those of us who think more positively, earnest money is money in good faith to show the seller, look, I'm really serious. This is collateral. This is $5,000. Show you that I'm really serious about buying your house. However, it comes with some terms. Seller don't get the money, goes in the escrow account. It's being held with a settlement. And it also can, as we discussed last week, can be part of your down payment, right? Okay. Earnest money shows your commitment. So let's take this illustration because I gotta make sure that you all are on the same page with me. 2 houses, same price. You buy, you can pick either one. Same amenities, same house. Buyer number 1 offers $5,000 earnest. Buyer number 2 offers $500. Which buyer would you take? Take the one that offered the most earnest. Because if they default, who gets that $5,000? I had a transaction where the property was $125,000. Guess how much the earnest was? $125,000. So the buyer said, I want it so bad, I'll give you all of it. as earnest money. I said, whoa, never seen that in my 25 years, but that's how bad they wanted it. I would never tell you to do that, but it has happened. So, after we do earnest money, when you're making your offer, we're gonna talk about some contingencies. Contingencies are fun. I say fun because guess what? Contingencies sometimes could be worth more than money. Did you know? I'll give you an example. All right, Missy, you got this house back here. You put your $5,000 money, earnest deposit down. Woo-hoo. But you want the home inspection. You want a termite inspection. You want radon. You want asbestos. You want a mortgage. Yeah, I had that. That's number 2. These are all your contingencies. Okay, for those in the room who may not be familiar with that terminology, contingency. Anyone want to define it for us, please? I got a little hint on the slide. Someone, you go back. Somebody want to read it for us? Nice and loud, please, for our viewing audience.
A contingency is a contract that buyers include when making an offer on a home that allows them to back out of buying the house if the terms of the contract aren't met.
Thank you so much. So, from a seller's point of view, let's think like a seller. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 contingencies. What does that mean? That's 5 ways that the buyer can do what? 5 ways the buyers can back out. Does this offer look too good to you now? Does this still look like a good offer to you?
A picky offer.
You think so? I know you don't know. Some say don't know, some say no, some say yes. But what do you think? Now let's think like a seller. I'm selling my house for $300,000, all these amenities, and this buyer now wants all of these things. So that means if there's a problem with any one of these things, what is the buyer's going to do? They're going to back out and take their what back? And then the house goes back on the
market.
Okay. So for one of you, for any of you who have put, let me get your thoughts. Go ahead. You have a
I'm a
portion?
wise seller. I got to. I'm not.
You want the report up front?
No,
You
I'm
have
the
the
wise
report.
seller. Yeah, I'm the wise seller and I got.
Okay, Miss Wise Seller, I'm gonna tell you something. That is wise, but then it's also not wise. I'll tell you why. I know, that's why these things are pretty nice. It's good for a seller to know the condition of the property. It really is. However, the more you know, the more you have to disclose. So it's best to have the buyer do the inspections. Because one, am I gonna trust your inspection report? Of the buyer? Maybe not. And why wouldn't I trust your inspection? Maybe your brother, sister's cousin is a home inspector and they type up the report and they just tell you they made have overlooked this and that. We're not saying that it has nothing to do about your ethics. It's just the world that we live in. So if you choose to get a home inspection on your own as a seller, that's being responsible. However, just know that from a buyer's perspective, it might not be something that would really matter to the buyer. The buyers will always get their own inspection. For some reason, ABC Home Inspection Company comes in and inspects this house, and they say this house is perfect. Nothing is wrong. I haven't heard that. I have never seen that by the people. That's just for illustration. XYZ Home Inspection Company goes on the same property, do a home inspection, comes back with a 20-page report. Which one you, Mr. Byron? You wouldn't believe the 20-page report. Why?
Must,
detail.
must be more thorough.
So what you've been provided, can't say is always the basis in which we should have a conversation. With an offer, when you put in the offer, what you're really doing as a buyer is you're setting the terms that you want for the seller. So if you're setting the terms, and you're saying, well, I'm gonna buy this house contingent that I'm satisfied with my home inspection, I'm satisfied with my termite inspection, I'm satisfied with my radar inspection, I'm satisfied with my asbestos, and that I can get a mortgage. This seller here might say, that is a bit too much. And the seller might say to go back to who?
To
What was the other one? Two,
82.
82, right. Now let's look at those numbers. I'm gonna give you a scenario, and I wanna see if you, based on what we already discussed in the first 3 slides, if you could tell me which one would be the best offer. 275? No contingency. As is. 280? Mortgage. And let's give it, let's say, 3. Mortgage being one of them. 282? 4. So 275, no contingencies, I'm dividing as is. 280, 3 contingencies, one of them, it gotta be a mortgage, I gotta get a mortgage. And the other one, 282, I'm gonna ask for at least 40. Any of them stand out in your mind as being the best? And if so, why? We're family here, let's just talk, we're having a conversation. Yes.
I think if you're in a rush trying to sell the house, the 275 would be the best. You don't have any picky buyers, but 280 is a good middle ground if you have time.
I like that thought process, yes?
So there are some other things that I've got to consider as you talk about. One is which one of the earnest, who has a bigger earnest deposit?
Yeah,
And the other thing is what it's gonna cost me to fix any of those contingencies. So if I am, let's say the 280
right.
gives me a $5,000 earnest money deposit, it's the highest. And those 3 contingencies, including the mortgage, well, no, I'm not going 380 because the mortgage is,
Part
I'm
of
in the credit space, so
Right.
let's go to 4, I'm going to 282, 4 contingencies. Let's say those 4 contingencies are the first 4 that you have.
Right,
And collectively, those contingencies cost me $3,000 to get done and remediate.
right. So now, in your answer actually surmises everything you just said. I can't say that any of them is better or worse. There's so many different variables, and it's also what's most important to who. I'll give you an example. Seller might want to go sell them in 30 days. Mortgage might take you 45 days. So if that's the case, then this one here, that's the mortgage will be out. And then this one here is no contingencies at all. You might say, well, I gotta be out here in 30 days. I don't have to wait for no appraiser. I don't have to have a mortgage. I don't have to get my home inspection. I gotta be out. This one right here, like you mentioned, might be a situation where they say, listen, I know this house is great. I've had my inspections and I really feel confident that there's nothing really wrong with this house. They can inspect it all they want. It's so many moving parts that I really want you to understand when you're putting in your offer. Don't always assume that the higher the price is, that's what makes the offer the best. Some things is not about the price. A seller sometimes will take less money knowing that you're gonna not ask them to do anything. There are people who've been in their house, myself included, I've been in my house for 30 years. If you was to ask me about the condition of my house, I would tell you, I really don't know all the things that's wrong with it. There's so much stuff probably wrong with it. I don't wanna know. And then I'll let you figure it out when you're ready to buy it. But that's what happens. We don't know what's wrong with our houses. And so therefore, we have to take into consideration that when you're putting in your offer, contingencies are not necessarily a bad thing. But in some cases, you might not want to have contingency. If everyone's rushing after this house, you might waive them. I, as a real estate professional, never advise anyone to waive any inspection of the property. When you're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on a property, you as a consumer have the right to inspect it. And sometimes if the buyer or seller don't want you to inspect it, then that's also could be a red flag. Maybe there is something that they know about the property that they don't want you to know. So, moving on, because we have the 7, the 5, prepare to negotiate. It's really okay. Let's say this. It's really okay. You know what? I wasn't prepared to spend 300,000. It's really okay. You want to be able to have a mutually beneficial agreement between the seller and the buyer. Seller, after the seller, gets the home inspection reports, he or she might say, well, listen, I didn't know the roof was like that. I'll give you $5,000 to fix it. Would you take it then? Sure. Yeah, you take care of the roof and I'll take care of this. You want to have an agreement, but just in the real world, ladies and gentlemen, you're not gonna always come to an agreement. You're just not. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad seller. It doesn't mean that the person's a bad buyer. It doesn't mean that you're a terrible real estate agent. It's just some meeting of the minds just doesn't happen. And it's really okay. So after we negotiate, we're going to take the offer that we have, we're going to review it. We're going to understand all aspects of it before we sign it. If there's something on the agreement cell, which is 14 pages long, by the way, that you do not agree with, you're not certain of, please let your real estate agent know. Don't just sit there blindly and just sign it. Stuff. That's just not the way to do it. You want to really, really pay attention. In some cases, you might want to get an attorney. Now, I will tell you, real estate brokers and licensees like the agents in our office that are here, we abide by a code of ethics. So we have no choice but to tell you or disclose to you material facts or defects that we are aware of. We have to. But you have to do what you feel protects you when you make your offer. And remember, it's an offer. Seller, we said, what can accept it, reject it, or counter. Okay, so review your information carefully. And then last, please, I can't even tell you how important this is. Anybody here procrastinate? Oh my goodness, no, don't tell me. That's the whole room. When you put in an offer, you can't procrastinate. I'm gonna tell you. These home inspections, all these things here, if you're going to go to settlement, you're trying to go to settlement, let's say May 30th. Right? That's the day, for those who do not know, settlement's the day you get the keys. That's the day they sign your name, get your check. It's just so much happiness that goes on settlement. I can't even describe it. It's one of my favorite times of the day. So stressful, but I love it after that. Get the keys. If you're doing this, I just want you to, can I bring you into my world for a minute? Please, come into my world. Can you come? I just need you to feel me for a second. So, I put a house on the market, $300,000. I get all these different offers. Then I have to narrow it down to one, right? Get our buyer, they give us their money, right? And then I gotta order the home inspection, termite inspection, the right inspection specialist, and I gotta call over to meet with the mortgage company. I didn't mention insurance company, title company. Are you feeling me? How many people have you counted how many people I've already done talk to just in the initial time that we put the house on the market?
At least 6.
And then each and every one of these has to be done by a certain period of time. After it's done by a certain period of time, I gotta go back and forth and tell each party what the person said and what they found, and then I got this deadline in me. So if you do not do something by a certain time, what happens to this deadline? What happens? Do we meet it? And when we don't meet it, guess what else could happen? Which is why I'm going to mention this. This is our last slide. What happens is, I got an idea. I'll give you a scenario. This is actually happened to somebody that I know. Settlement was May 30th. Let's just pick it. Settlement was May 30th, 2022. Let's pick it a date. Something that's already passed. Seller got a new job. Moving down to Florida. Guess what? All of a sudden. I bought a boat. I took the money and said, you know what? That's what happened to the mortgage fell flat. Because now that's a debt that they had that now doesn't allow them to buy the house. Seller's moving truck is out front of the house. This whole house is packed up. Job is expected on Monday. And this house is not closing for May 3rd.
Who incurs the cost?
Ooh, who incurs the cost? So what happens to this?
So is it?
This first money goes to the seller. But, let me explain to you, do you think it costs them more than this to pack up his house?
Oh, yeah.
Florida?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it costs them more than this, just the idea of knowing now he can stay around, keep the house on the market? And, okay, so this number here is so important for so many levels. And so the buyer is still what we call default. But when the buyer defaults, then these dates, things, so basically what I'm going to say, so I won't take any more time off of Kevin's plate, is the essential thing is gotta do everything on time. You can lose your money. And thankfully, in the 25 years that I've been doing this, I have never had a buyer lose it. Thank you. That is a really good feeling. Because I'm adamant about it because I treat their money like it's my money. And I don't want to lose my money, so you're not going to lose yours. And I'm going to be on you for every single type of, we got to get this done, we got to get this done, we got to get this done. So for those of you who are procrastinators and you put an offer in, don't put an offer in if you can't meet those deadlines. So if you can't do your home inspection in 5 days, put 7. Can't do, just make the contract a contract that you can honor. Okay? So in review, which is the best part of our day, I'm going to give 7 people a card. We're going to do like we did last month. We'll let you pick one. Just pick one. All right. Card, any card. Do you have any questions from anybody from our virtual audience while we're doing this?
None so far.
Sure.
So what happens, even though the buyer really want to vote, that mortgage fell flat?
Right.
But the buyer says he starts getting that earnings money, there's a dispute that arises.
Nice question. Very nice question. And actually, I should have addressed it. Thank you so much. The question was, if there's a dispute over the earnest, buyer says, you can keep my $5,000. I've got my boat, but I don't think I defaulted. You're not keeping my $5,000. Well, the Real Estate Commission has in place an arrangement for real estate brokers like myself to keep money in escrow. And when money is put in escrow, we cannot release the money until buyer and seller both sign. Thankfully, the law has changed a little bit because before, brokers like myself will have earnest money sitting in our accounts indefinitely. Because there may be times when brokers, buyers and sellers can never come to an agreement. So as of late, the past 5 years, they capped it to 180 days, which is 6 months. We have 6 months to find out, have a meeting of the minds while the money is being held by the broker as far as what to do with the money. After 6 months, I am required to send the money back to the buyer. I'm required to do it. I'm obligated to, and then the seller will have to take the buyer to court. So they try to take the real estate brokers out of the equation because really the conflict is between the buyer and the seller. It's not really had. So it's important then if you're going to, and some people who know the laws know that, so they'll just wait 6 months, don't say nothing, because the buyer knows they're gonna get their money back. And then, of course, most sellers don't wanna spend the money trying to sue somebody for $5,000. So the answer to your question, because the real estate agents, it's not our money, we're just being, the bank just holding it. So, I personally, when I'm doing an earnest money deposit, I like to put a decent amount, but I also like to put that within the first 5 days. I don't even want to wait on. We're gonna have to figure this out, please. As far as this, but then also conversations with your realtor is really important. It could have probably been avoided had there just been some conversation with the agent. Don't buy anything. Now, when I say anything, I mean nothing big, nothing major. But then on another flip side, that sometimes buyers just hard-headed, they just do what they want to do, no matter how much you sit and talk. So, then review, who has number one? Okay, so tell us about what you learned today with researching the market, which means to understand current market conditions. Yeah, you got something you want to tell us? You gotta tell me something. You gotta make me feel like I taught you something. I need this. This is part of my therapy. It's something. What about the market? Anybody want to help her? Yeah. That's okay. So the market and research it, in other words, you have to determine where the location of the property is, how long it's been, like say within 1 mile, has to sold within 6 months, and it has to be very similar. So with that's important. So if you research the market, then you'll be able to determine how you can put your offer. Who has number two? To determine the price.
I do.
Who would you like to comment on when it comes to determining the price?
That we need to, consider the property condition and, definitely if you are the buyer, make sure that you get a home inspection.
Okay, nice. And anybody want to comment in addition to that when it comes to determining the offer price? Yes,
I had a question about the seller motivation part.
yes.
Is there like a seller motivation that's like a red flag? Like that's why you're selling the property? No.
I can't say that there's been any red flags. Question is if there's any red flags for sellers as far as why they want to sell. I think one of the biggest ones that I've come across is husbands and wives who are going divorce. One's trying to sell the property from under the other, thinking they can. Another one is we have seen where there are father and son, same last name, junior and senior, trying to sell the house or take the house from one another. Those are sometimes red flags. Some of the red flags basically comes up when it comes to family. It's sad to say, but it's true. And then the other one would be when someone dies. When someone dies, it's often that someone is trying to take a property, someone that they were really entitled to. And they try to change things and they, something of that sort, but we don't come across those things too often, but that's an excellent question. So, do we remember what the third one was? Who has number 3? All right. So the third one is. Can you tell us about the earnest money deposit?
The earnest money basically shows the seller how serious you are about buying.
Yes. So don't give $500 earnest money deposit, please. I'm just saying. We used to do that though, seriously. And anyone who's watching this, we used to do that. I had it where people gave 0 earnest money deposit. 0. I'm not giving you nothing. You either take an offer or you don't. And people take it, especially if it's family. You're just like, I'm not gonna ask you to put up no money. So I'm just saying, so that's important though. But when you put in an offer, you want to make a strong offer. Okay? Who has number 4? Yes, what do you want to tell us about including contingency? You can just read it as you see it there, that's fine. Yes, protect yourself. Contingencies are important. If you are not in the construction business, don't be saying that you're going to buy the house as is. You don't know anything about the electric, plumbing. Just get a home inspection. That's protecting you. So I might not have talked about that a lot, but the contingencies is not a bad thing. It could be a good thing. It's a way to protect your investment, okay? All right, who has number 5? Yes, what can you tell us about being prepared to negotiate?
Mutually beneficial. It's higher. Mutually beneficial.
Yes, we want to make sure that both buyer and seller benefits. And if we can't come to an agreement, it's okay to walk away. And then who has number 6 and 7? Who has number 6?
I have number 6.
Yeah, number 6, which is,
Carefully review.
yes, carefully. Just don't sign your name. Pay attention to, or make sure all what you have in your offer is exactly the way you want it, and that you feel comfortable signing. And number 7, last but not least, yes, meet all your deadlines. So you procrastinators, when it comes to buying a house, don't procrastinate. Because I let you into my world and let you see, when you try to coordinate with 7, 8, 9, 10 people and try to meet a deadline. Come on, help me out, okay? So, I'd like to thank you all. You are all done. And thank you so much for attending. And we're going to have Shavonda Lewis come back up and introduce our next speaker. And take a moment to take note of our next upcoming event.
Right, up, our next speaker would be Mr. Kevin Lewis, CEO of BCN Credit Counseling, and we discussing inquiries.
Inquiries is what we're talking about today. And I'm gonna have to pay a parking ticket, so that's fine.
No, I don't worry about it. All right. No worries. Thank you. Abby, thank you. That was phenomenal. I don't even want to erase that. It looks like art. Should I just leave it up there? Looks like artwork up there. I'm just gonna leave that there. I'll get to that. So thank you guys for having us. For those of you who were here last month with Abby, thank you for coming back. For those of you who are here for the first time, thank you for joining us in our Credit and Real Estate Today series. We do this on the second Friday of every month. And so each time we talk about something different in the credit and real estate space. And today I'm going to talk about inquiries on your credit report and how they get on your credit report and what to do about those things. So if I can ask for some assistance from you, Amber, and are you good to stick around for a little bit? You okay? Do you guys need a little break? You guys need 2-3 minutes, or you all right? Are you all right? What's your name? Eris? Am I saying it right?
Erin,
Say it one more time.
Erin,
Spell
ERRIN.
it. Eris. Wonderful name. It's Kevin, Kevin. Got it? All right, so we quiz name. All right, so today we're going to talk about the inquiries part of your credit report, right? In this series, I have gone over several things that affect your credit profile and your credit score. And today we're going to go over the fourth thing that impacts your credit profile, credit score, and that is inquiries. And you guys know what inquiries are, right? You know, what's your name?
Ember.
Say it again.
Ember.
Ember? Am I saying it right? It's my friend Eric. In this series, that's right. All right. So Ember, you know the what's an inquiry?
When the credit report, your credit score.
Sweet. That's what an inquiry is. Inquiry just means somebody's asking a question about your credit profile. We're going to talk about these things because they seem trivial, but they have a huge impact on your credit report and particularly how you qualify for credit. So, Amber, give me the next slide if you don't mind. All right. So there are two types of polls. Now, back to slide. Go back. Name the credit bureaus.
TransUnion, Equifax. Experian.
Experian. Right? Rashawn, name the credit bureaus for me.
So we have, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, Lexus. And there's three others.
Okay, I called on you for a reason, because I know that you know. So you guys are all familiar probably with the three primary bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. But what I am certain that most of you don't know or might be hearing for the first time is that there are actually seven now because two of them merged, but there are 7 credit bureaus, and some of those credit bureaus are going to cause inquiries, some of them are not. So let's go to the next slide. Soft pull. So there are 2 types of credit inquiries. There's a soft pull and a hard pull. Soft pull means the creditor is using the secondary bureaus to determine your credit worthiness. And these are those secondary bureaus. And why I said there were 8 and now there are 7 is because LexisNexis is the most major of those secondary bureaus, and it merged with another company called SageStream, and now it's LexisNexis SageStream. But before that, there were 5 of these. These are secondary bureaus. Those secondary bureaus are what companies use to determine your credit worthiness, but not cause you to lose any points in your credit score, right? So now, here's the deal. Those primary bureaus that you guys know about, Abby, here's what they do. They use these secondary bureaus to gather information about you, and then they put that information together with the information that they have, and that's what makes up your credit score and article. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. So know these, know what they do. LexisNexis is by far the most comprehensive credit bureau in the world. What I mean by comprehensive is why am I looking at you like this? LexisNexis knows everything about you from the time that you're born. The minute that you get a social security number in this country, you come on LexisNexis's radar and they start gathering data about you. If you pull your LexisNexis credit report, so you guys are used to pulling your, Siobhan, used to pulling your tri-bureau credit report, right? Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, right? And you see your address on it, right? And you might see, I had this address and then I had a previous address and then I had a previous address before the previous address and then I had another previous address before, right? That comes from LexisNexis. That's where they get that information from. They don't collect that data. LexisNexis collects it. If you went to college and if you lived in one dorm and then you moved to a different dorm, LexisNexis is going to know. I can't get out.
That's
Like, even if you're not,
Worldwide. LexisNexis is the biggest data collection company in the world.
so
As long as they don't
to Mexico, they don't.
If you flee, you would be the second criminal that's been in one of our seminars. Why wouldn't it be? Why isn't it a primary? The reason it's not a primary is because when the banking industry lobbied Congress to create a mechanism to determine credit worthiness, and FICO, Fed Isaac Company, won the bid to create the mechanism, they chose to use Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion as the companies to provide that. These companies just became data furnishers for those companies. That's why they are secondary. But they know everything about you. Now, that doesn't mean if you flee the country, just don't tell me, okay? And by the way, if you flee the country, let me know, and I may need to go with you. Here's the deal. So LexisNexis, as soon as you are given an identity, LexisNexis is going to start reporting. Here's the deal. If you pull a LexisNexis credit report, it could be 80 to 120 pages long. It's going to have on there any driver's licenses you had and what state you got them from. If you had car insurance, it's going to know what car insurance you've had. If you change car insurance companies, it'll know that. If you had a car accident and you had to report the car accidents to that car insurance company, it's gonna know that. And it's gonna know if you got any points on your driver's license. It's gonna know that if I get a boot on my car because I didn't pay this parking ticket that I'm about to get, it's gonna know all of those things. And you're gonna ask a question. Mm-hmm.
Who's pulling this information? Is it the underwriters or are these people above and or below underwriters? And I have a particular question because I pulled my credit report
From LexisNexis or your
No.
tri-bureau? Okay.
and that was just it. It was, you know, the Experian, all of them.
Mhm.
And then I saw that these people had saw pulls on my credit and I hadn't requested them for any reason. And there were 12 of them. Like every month, they pulled my credit. So, one, I'm gonna give the LexisNexis because I want to know more about that. But who are these people that are using secondary bureau for us?
Who is the they that you're talking about, right? Because we always talk about they are doing us wrong, right? And you want to know who the they is? That's a great question. So LexisNexis pulled information from hundreds, thousands of sources. They pull information from the postal or the USPS. They pull information from the IRS. They pull information from the credit card companies. They pull information from the motor vehicles agency. They pull information from colleges. They have the freedom. So when everybody's talking about the they, these conspiracies, LexisNexis is the they. I've given a name to the they. They pull information from all kinds of sources. If you have a magazine subscription, they pull information from that. So when you see those addresses that are shown, you ever pull your tri-bureau credit report, Abby, and you see an address, you're like, I never lived there, right? But somebody got a magazine subscription to that address in your name or a name similar to yours. And so LexisNexis got that and they put that as part of your addresses. Doesn't mean that LexisNexis is reporting accurate information. And by the way, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Amber, says that you have the right as an individual to remove any inaccurate information on any of your credit report. This is a credit report. It is a secondary bureau credit report, but it's a credit report nevertheless. So to answer your question, pull your LexisNexis report and anything that's inaccurate on there that you don't recognize, get it removed. You write to the company and say, please get this off my credit report. CoreLogic, ARS, Innovis, they're all the same. They're all the same, yes.
Can I remove something that is accurate that I don't want it to be there?
Oh, like your height, your weight? The answer to your question is yes. If you can prove that there is a reason and it's reasonable for you to have it removed. So give me an example of what you think that you would want to remove. I know it's not a criminal record because I know.
No.
Stop.
Not that.
Yes.
I have one where this lady has the same name as me and she lives in Georgia.
So that's inaccurate information, right? Somebody's reporting that you are them and they are you, right? And LexisNexis is to gather that because it's the same name, right? They said you have an address in Georgia. You never lived in Georgia, have you?
Nope.
Right. So remove that from, and it'll come up on your tri-bureau credit report because LexisNexis is feeding your tri-bureau credit report. If you're talking about English, talk to me, Rajani.
Okay, so if you do have.
Y'all related? Excuse me. I'm off track. I'm off track. I got off track. Don't let me get off track. You're doing something here.
Yes, these are my daughters. And so if you have a bill and it's reporting, but you know, sometimes they sell they sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe a number is wrong. You know.
If you don't, because yes. If anything is inaccurate, get it removed. If it's something accurate, but it is something that is damaging, you can also have that removed. By the way, guys, all credit providers, all lenders have the authority to remove anything they want off of your credit reports. And they can do so with this thing called a universal data form. Mark that in your mind or write it down. for those of you millennials or younger, put it in your note, in your phone. It doesn't take. Whatever you have. So, yes, go in, prepare, go pull all of these credit reports. All of them are free, by the way. Pull all of those credit reports and fix any information that's on it. Now, I will tell you guys, these reports from each one of these secondary bureaus are sometimes the information is hidden and it's convoluted. So be very careful. It would not hurt you to get involved with the company that knows how to look at these reports and can help you fix them. I got a guy who needs. All right. Pull these reports, remove any information. But to your question, I'm sorry, I didn't ask your name. Your name is Zella. To answer your question, those soft pulls that you see on your credit report are done by credit card companies. So if you've ever owned a credit card and they've given you an increase in limit without you requesting it, it's because they monthly pull your secondary bureau credit reports and they say, all right, she's paying bills on time, she looks creditworthy, she's not done anything that has been damaging to her credit. We think that she can handle more credit and we'll give you the increase. And you'll see that as a soft pull on your credit report. All right. However, you don't have to have them on there. You didn't authorize them and you can have them removed, but they don't damage you in any way. So you might as well keep them on. Right. All right. Whenever you see a pre-qualification for credit, when you guys, how many people in here use Credit Karma?
Oh,
When I say all right. Credit Karma is a marketing company. I just want you guys to be aware. That's why you guys keep getting this solicitation, right? Credit Karma is a marketing company, and I'm gonna go off track for just a little bit. Indulge me, if you will. Be careful because Credit Karma will tell you that because we've looked at your credit profile, and as a result, you qualify for these different credit cards or loans, what have you, right? Don't believe it. That's just Credit Karma's way of making money. They're free to you because they get paid from advertising dollars, right? And the companies that are saying that you are going to be approved, you have a high likelihood of being approved, are just paying Credit Karma to get to you, right? So don't believe that. You may or may not get approved. If Credit Karma says it.
It was like, refinance your car, you'll save X amount of money. And then I called the company, like, oh, it's not gonna be much less than what you got now.
Stop calling us. Stop calling. Because that company is paying Credit Karma just to get access to you. But there's no guarantee that you're going to get approved. What you do see though is they will use these companies to see if you pre-qualify. Now, soft pulls don't necessarily determine whether or not you're going to get credit, right? These, when I say these don't show up on your credit report, I mean they don't show up in your credit reports as point reductors. All right. Do me a favor, take me to the next slide if you don't mind. Now, a hard pull, these are things that you guys are aware of. A hard pull means they use the three primary credit bureaus, the ones you know, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, to determine whether or not you're going to qualify for credit. And Shavana, this is when you get an inquiry, such a hard word for this. I wish they would change it to something else, but they won't. I'm working though. I'm just calling the question, right? But this is when you get a hard inquiry hit on your credit report. And every inquiry will reduce your credit score by 3 to 5 points. Right? By 3 to 5 points, depending on the inquiry and depending on the bureau. All right? Take me to the next. All right. We talked about that. We'll reduce your score by 3 to 5 points. Inquiries stay on your credit report for 2 years to the date that you got the inquiry. But Rashana, here's the deal. They're supposed to automatically fall off. Sometimes they don't. That's when you have to get involved. If you see an inquiry on your report past 2 years to the date that you got that inquiry, then get it removed. You should have no more, if you want to have a great credit report, Abby, you should have no more than 3 credit inquiries per bureau. Per bureau.
I have a question.
Yes, I'm sorry, I heard somebody say something.
Buyer wants to shop around for a mortgage.
I love it.
They've been to 4 different banks. Because they're looking to get the best rate. So is that 4 pools?
You went
Okay.
into the future on me. I love it.
did,
Thank you for
okay,
that. Thank you for
okay.
going into the future for me. Here you are. So, great question. Say the question again for me, though.
All right, so a person wants to market or shop around for a particular product, maybe.
And no, say what you said.
Mortgage,
Say-
okay, mortgage. And they go to 4 different banks. And they do it all, I don't know about 2-week period, but they do it. And so my question was, is that 4 different hits on their credit report?
So, all inquiries done within a 2-week period of the same, and I should have put that in this, of the same type, show up as far as point reduction as 1 inquiry. What I mean by that is, they go to 4 different banks, but their score is only gonna drop 3 to 5 points, right? They're gonna get 4 different inquiries, bank A, bank B, bank C, and bank D. There's gonna be 4 inquiries, but their score is only gonna drop by 3 to 5 points. But, Abby, they are going to have
More.
4 inquiries.
Right.
Show up on their credit report,
Right.
right? So this is the difficulty with inquiries that people have.
Mhm.
So as far as your score is concerned, you don't have a big reduction. You got a 770 credit score. You do those 4 inquiries, now you have a 765, right? But you now have 4 inquiries on your credit report. 6 months later, when you go to apply for a credit card, they may deny you because you have too many inquiries. You didn't lose the points, you still have a 765. But you're saying, how can I have a 765 and get denied for an Amex? Let me not a credit card, because Amex doesn't pay me yet. Right? So how can I have a high credit score but still be getting denied credit? And the reason why is because you got 27 inquiries on your credit report. Now, it doesn't matter. You know when you see this, you brought this up. What's your name?
India.
India. Okay, got it. Best friend. All right. India, you brought up a car loan, right? You go into a car dealership, and what do car dealers do to us?
Mhm.
When I say us black people, be clear about that.
Scam.
What they do is
Scam.
they run our credit through 12 different banks trying to get us a loan, right? Again, you're only gonna lose 3 to 5 points. That's why they don't care. That's why they do it, because they think you don't care, right? You're only gonna use,
I have 12.
but you're gonna have 12 inquiries on your credit report, right? Now, here's the deal, India. You did not approve those inquiries.
Right.
So what you're gonna do is, you're going to go back to all of those companies and write a letter saying, show me where I authorized you to run my credit. Because you went into Honda, right? You assume I'm getting a loan from Honda, right? Honda says we went to Bank America and we went to Santander. I'm sorry, these people don't pay. But they said, we're gonna go to all of these banks. And so you have the right to dispute those inquiries and you're gonna get them removed because you didn't authorize that, right? You didn't tell them that they had the right to do that. Here's the deal though. I'm gonna tell you what to do before you go in, right? Because I'm trying to get you into a good place before you get into trouble, right? Before you go into a car dealer, or before you go to a mortgage lender, or before you go into a credit card, before you go into a bank to get a personal loan, pull a credit report. I don't care whether you pull it from, but just make sure it has the credit scores on it, and it has the account number, or at least partial account numbers, and the contact information from your creditors on it. It needs to be a full credit report. Take that credit report into the car dealership. Now, see, this is what they don't talk to you about. They don't tell you this stuff right here. And you see me almost trip right? They don't tell you this stuff, but I'm gonna tell you this stuff.
Okay, tell me.
I'm gonna tell you the
Go ahead,
difference
tell me.
between our community and other communities, right?
Okay.
When other communities go into car dealers, they bring their credit report and they say to the salesperson, this is my current credit report. It has a date on it. This is my current credit report. Based on this credit report, I want you to give me the best deal that you can, and I want you to take me to the bank that you think is going to give me the best chances of approval. I don't want you to take me to 12 different banks. I want you to take me to one bank. This is what you can see. Now they're going to tell you we have to pull the credit report, and that's fair, right? You can request, though. You have the authority to request them not doing that. Say, listen, I'm asking, can you use this credit report? And if you don't, before you decide to pull my credit and before you decide to take me to 50 different banks, I want you to determine based on what you see here, which bank gives me the best chances of approval. And if they say no, leave.
Gotcha.
Right?
I took my credit, I went to my bank, got my pre-qualification from my bank, took it to the card dealer. I didn't want them.
So you got a check from your bank.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the best thing to do. The best thing to do is get financing from your bank or your credit union is
Right.
probably the best.
That's
Right?
why you had a
It's
credit.
union?
Yeah,
So you're going, because one, you're gonna get the best deal. This is just,
right.
you're gonna get the best deal, right? You're walking in with cash. So you're gonna get the best deal. But if you choose to finance through the car dealership or the auto
Right.
lender, make sure you take
That's good to
your
know.
credit report
That's good to know.
and tell them, I only want one credit pull.
Mhm.
I think it's 12. All right. With that.
Does it always have to be 12? They always gonna,
They do.
it could be more than that, but.
So listen, let me tell you, so can I stay here for a little bit? The game that they play? Can we talk about the game that they play?
Right.
So there's a reason why the car dealers do that. They're setting you up for the future. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So here's the deal. A car dealer is not selling you the car today. They're selling you the car 3 years from now. They're saying, because typically, if we have a great experience at a car dealer, we're going to go to that car dealer the next time we buy a car, right? So the car dealer is saying, if I can do something to impact their credit score now, when they come back 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 7 years from now, their score likely is going to be lower, which means I can make more money on interest for the lending, right? Because that's where car dealers make money. That's why they don't like when people come in and pay cash, because they don't make any money off of it, right? They make money off the finance. So they are running your credit through those 12 banks because they know, yes, the score is so to you, the unwitting buyer, right? You're only going to see your score drop 3 to 5 points. You say, I don't care, right? Until 3 years from now, when it's time for you to get a new car, or 5 years from now, it's time for you to get a new car. Now these 12 inquiries show up. Now they're sitting in front of you and saying, your credit profile means that we have to charge you 11% on this Honda Accord versus 7%.
But
Right?
don't those inquiries drop off after 2 years, right?
They do drop off after 2 years, but I'm saying they're setting you up for the future, right? They're setting you up for the future because they know that if you come back, the likelihood is you're going to have a bunch of inquiries on your credit report, and it's going to make your profile such that they can charge you more interest. It's a shame, but it's the game. But you know better because you were here today.
That's right.
Right?
You know that.
So the thing that you want to do is remove all inquiries that did not lead to approvals. Now pay attention to this, guys. Please do not try to move an inquiry that led to an approval. If you got a credit card from one of the credit card providers and you are using that credit card, do not try to get that inquiry removed. There's a lot of people, Rashawn, I can't tell you, the internet makes me sick to my stomach. They're lying to y'all, they're setting y'all up, so be careful, all right? The internet, the people on the internet, there's some very popular people on the internet that tell you they can remove all inquiries from your credit report. Do not do that. Because if you remove an inquiry from your credit report from an active account, they may close that account. All right? So don't do that. You can ask the creditor, even if it led to an approval, you can ask the creditor to remove it early if it's been on the credit report at least 12 months. But I would only use that for I would only use that for things like, car loan. Because they're not, or mortgages, or things that are installment accounts. I would not try to use that for a revolving account. Because they are less likely to, they are auto lenders, mortgage lenders, personal loan companies, they don't typically close their accounts, because they don't make any money if they close their account, right? So if you want to get an open account removed, you can do so. You can remove it early, but just make sure it's been on your credit report at least 12 months. Don't try to remove it before then, right? And only use installment accounts. All right. And here's how you get that inquiry removed. Anything that you want fixed on your credit, please write a letter to the company and mail it certified. Write a letter to the company and mail it certified. You want to have a paper trail. I know that there are people on the internet saying you can call up the company and have it removed. And they're not wrong. There are people who are saying that you can go to, I know one of Experian is good at, they say that you can dispute inquiries right off of their website if you have that service. I tell people, use those services secondarily. Write the letter first, and then after you've sent the letter, then you can call the company, or then you can go on the credit bureau's website and dispute. But you want to have it in writing that you sent them a message, so that when you go back to them and call them and say, hey, I sent you a letter on April 5th, ask you to remove this inquiry, please. Nobody responded, please remove that inquiry from my credit report. And this is what the letter should look like. According to my most recent credit report, make sure that it's reporting to the 3 credit bureaus, or if it's only reporting 2, that's fine. I did not grant you authorization to review my credit report. This is that secondary thing we're talking about, or if it's on your primary credit report, I did not grant you authorization. That's important. This part is also important. The Fair Credit Reporting Act requires that the creditor be able to verify the written authorization, right? So you're asking them to provide a copy of a credit application authorizing the disclosure of my credit files with my signature. This is important. That line right here. If you can provide a copy of a credit application authorizing the disclosure of my credit files with my signature, I will accept the inquiry. It doesn't have your signature on it, it's our responsibility. Gotta have your responsibility. And then blah, 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 blah. That is an inquiry removal letter, and that will get you in a better position. When these inquiries are particularly pesky because the days of the world have convinced us that credit scores are important, and that's not true. Credit profile is important. Credit scores are just what they use to convince you that you're not in a position to get the lowest interest rate. But credit profile is what they use to make the decisions that they make. They don't use the scores, they use the profile. And so having a bunch of inquiries on your credit report is why a lot of you guys are getting denied for some of the credit that you're applying for. So just keep that in mind. Are there any questions about anything that I had a conversation?
Have you ever had it where the companies don't respond at all?
Oh, yeah.
And so when they don't respond, then where's the next recourse?
So the good news is this Fair Credit Reporting Act was written for consumers, and there is a part of the Fair Credit Reporting Act that says a creditor has 30 days to respond to your inquiry or dispute, and if they do not respond, then that derogatory that you're questioning has to be by law removed. Now, it takes a little bit of back and forth with the credit bureaus to get it removed, but by law, they're supposed to remove it. And that's where the value of a credit counseling, credit repair company comes from. And I know a good.
I know a good one too.
If you go, there's one right here.
Yeah.
I'm not showing bias and favoritism. I'm simply saying I like this company.
Yeah, we like that one
I like
too.
this particular company. You can find others. You can Google them or go on Instagram or whatever. But this one,
Must be sponsored.
this is, I happen to know this company intimately, and I'm saying they do great work. That's all I'm saying.
Why is that company so
Cause
special?
I'm not sponsored, I'm not saying.
They don't. So I typically don't endorse. In this instance, though, I'm gonna make an exception, only because I just know the company so well, so intimately. But that's why I encourage people to use those services, because that follow-up is where some people lose the ability to dispute something, right? You send a letter out on April 5th, and then May 5th, they're supposed to have responded. You don't remember when you sent the letter out, they don't respond. And then 60 days goes by, you miss the opportunity to take advantage of the 30-day rule.
I think it's good for you, for a person to have a company like this one here, because, yeah, because some people feel very intimidated when they're talking or trying to interact with other businesses or companies, and they feel like they don't know how to verbalize or to say what they need to say. And many don't know what their rights are under the Fair Credit Consumer Act. They don't know.
They don't know,
So if they don't know what to say, what not to say, then having a credit counseling company
like that.
like that one,
Simple.
definitely, yes, I can see the value in it.
So, Abby, what I try to impress upon clients and people that I come in contact with is we've got to take the power back, particularly in the Black. We go into, anytime we apply for credit, we go in, it's like a kick in the gut, right? We're always prepared to be kicked in the gut, right? That's our history with credit. But other communities don't have the same struggle, right? If you ever go to a car dealership and on a Saturday and just spend time listening to how other people talk to the salespeople, right? They come in and demand stuff, right? No, I want to pay this amount, right? For this car, and I want the luxury package, right? This is what I want. And they're able to do that because they're aware of the laws, right?
Right.
They are aware of, because they wrote the law, so they know what their rights are, right? So it's time for us to stop being victims and become empowered to go into these conversations. When I say to you, I tell my clients, take your credit reports. I can't tell you how many people get scared. I'm saying, no. If you want to see it, I'll show you. I'll show you. Let's take the credit report. I'm going to sit down with the salesperson, because here's the deal. There's another Honda dealer right down the street. You can either take this, or I'm going to go right down the street to your competitor. And by the way, I'm going to tell your sales manager before I leave, because the sales manager does not want anybody to leave their showroom, right? So I'm letting you know, I'm leaving because I had a credit report. The salesperson would not accept it. They didn't even bring it to you to present it. So I'm going to the other Honda dealership, and thank you very much, but I'm going to spend my money elsewhere. So we have to be empowered. That's all I'm saying. All right. We'll see you guys again May 12th.